You are now watching Face to Face, live from the CSL studio. Your host, Nesta Can.
Good afternoon and welcome to another episode of Face to Face. Yours truly, Nesta Can. And today we have a special guest all the way from Australia.
Very far.
She goes by the name of Chef Liv. How are you doing? How are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
Can you speak into the mic, please?
Oh, I'm sorry. How's that?
Yes, it's good. Just a little bit more.
I think I'm just really short. There we go. That's better.
So, what's new? What have you been up to?
Right now, I'm just soaking up New York City. I'm very excited to be here, trying to do a couple different things to globalize my brand, try to branch out of Sydney, out of Australia. So that's what's been happening. Work.
Okay,
Yeah.
I hear you. Yeah, I've been hearing a lot about you, traveling, being in all these cooking and chef competitions and winning all these competitions. So, definitely had to have you on the show. It's a pleasure having you on the show.
Thank you so much.
So let me ask you, how did you get into the culinary field? Like, what made you to decide to become a chef?
It's actually a really funny story. Not funny, but it's quite interesting. Growing up, I always thought like I was going to be a lawyer or a doctor or a teacher or some typical job that, African parents want you to have. And one day when I moved to Australia, I actually had my teacher say to me, "So what do you want to do when you grow up?" And I was like, well, my parents probably, going to send me to like law school or something. She's like, "What? No, you need to do something that you love, something that you're passionate about." And I was like, okay, I did not know that. So she's like, "What do you love?" And I was like, "I like to eat." That's really was as simple as that. I like to eat. I love food. She's like, "You know what? I'm going to get you started." And the rest is history, pretty much.
Oh, wow. You said
Yeah.
Africa. You were born in Africa?
Yeah, I was born in Zimbabwe. So,
Oh, Zimbabwe.
yes.
That's South Africa, right?
Yeah, the dirty South.
Okay. That's cool. So, did you go to school to become a chef?
Actually, whilst I was in high school, I was really fortunate that, my teacher, she saw something in me that a lot of people didn't at the time.
Right.
Like I said, my family wanted me to do something a little bit more substantial, a little bit more glamorized. And she saw something in me. She's like, "You know what? I'm going to invest in you." So actually, whilst I was in high school, she had me doing like TAFE courses, which is like college courses. So whilst I was in high school, I was doing all these extra courses. And then I finished high school with like a Cert 3 in commercial cookery, which is like pretty much what you need to get started as a chef. But she was like, "You know what? You need to push yourself a little bit more." So I applied for a culinary school.
Right.
I actually got a full scholarship to Le Cordon Bleu. It's a French culinary school. And I studied a Bachelor of Business, majoring in international restaurant management. So I was really fortunate that, I had somebody who was really saw me before I could kind of see myself for that potential. So, yeah. Her name is Jody Zamel.
Oh, big up.
Shout out to Miss Jody.
Shout out. Yeah, any inspirations growing up?
Growing up,
Yeah.
I was a little bit crazy growing up. Like, I don't know, probably like Beyonce growing up. But, as a chef, when I started to kind of get more into the industry, people that inspire me, the late Anthony Bourdain.
Okay.
I love his whole relationship with, work and personal life.
Right.
You become morphed into work and personal life. There's no differentiating, which is why it's great that I love what I'm doing, because I don't get that gap where it's like work and it's personal life. It's all fun to me because I like it. So if I happen to get paid to do what I love, then, isn't that the dream?
Right.
So yeah, Bourdain, Gordon Ramsay, Australian chef. His name is Matt Moran. Neil Perry, that's an Australian chef as well. So
Okay.
really laid back characters. Gordon Ramsay isn't really laid back. He's more of a
Yeah, I mean,
in your face.
yeah, your
type of
face.
guy.
Yeah,
And I like that.
I've checked out some of his restaurants when I went to
Yeah.
Vegas. He has
Hell's Kitchen.
Yeah, House Kitchen. Yeah.
Yeah.
What are some of the challenges of being a chef? Because you see all these shows, these reality shows of chefs have to do things in a certain time. Is it
Yeah.
really crazy like that? Be in the kitchen, everyone's going crazy.
We're all swearing at each other and throwing pans and
exactly,
pots and
pans and.
Honestly, it is a fast-paced industry. You have to have thick skin. Like, you have to work hard. People assume that it's all glamour. Chefs are all, just put this and that together, but it's really not. You have to be hardworking. You have to be somebody that's committed to what you're doing, because a lot of the times, we don't have rosters. You end up doing, 6, 7 more hours than you want to do, and there's a lot of alcohol and drug use because, you got to keep up with that adrenaline. You got to keep up with that high of service. So, it's very fast-paced, very demanding emotionally because, if you're a passionate person, anytime you do anything, you're going to put your whole heart into it. So it's not as glamorized as it is. It's hard work, even more so if you're a female chef because, it's a male-dominated industry. So as a female, you want to come in there without, like, people perceiving you as, oh, you're just a girl, you're just a pretty face. You really want to show that you can hang with the guys and you can, your skill has something to show for.
Right.
So, yeah, it's challenging.
All right.
Definitely challenging.
I thought about that too. Female chef. I'm like, when I first heard about you, I'm like, wow, female chef. Are there any popular female chefs out there that are like on, maybe not on level as Gordon Ramsay and stuff, but they're like, they are?
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. Even on Gordon Ramsay level, I mean, maybe in different places they're famous in different places, but there's a female chef who actually inspires me. Her name is Donna Hay.
Okay.
She's an Australian chef. She's got a whole bunch of stuff going for her. So there are some female chefs out there, but again, male-dominated industry. You don't get that many female chefs out there. So yeah, all about feminism in here today.
All right. So being a chef, what are some of the hardest foods to cook? Because I hear sometimes it's steak. Steaks are hard because it has to be a certain temperature and all that, stuff.
Yeah. Well, I always say anytime you learn something, the first time is going to be hard. You do something enough times, you're kind of it's kind of second nature to you. So steak can be hard to cook if you're not really sure what you're doing. The hardest thing I find cooking is anything that's expensive. I've been very fortunate to work in some really nice restaurants where, you get really good produce, really expensive stuff. And the hardest stuff is always like, cooking with truffles or cooking with lobster. Because if you get one thing wrong, if you overcook something, you can never like go back and fix it. You can't fix stuff. So anything that's expensive always has me on the edge because I'm just like, oh, I really want to do it justice,
Right.
Yeah, so that's pretty much the most challenging part, I think, when it comes to cooking. Once you kind of get that skill down packed, you don't have to be scared so many times. Like now I can cook a steak, a little bit easier than when I started out. So
okay,
yeah.
Okay.
Speaking of cooking, I actually heard that you're vegan, and you probably don't get the opportunity to, really experience like really good cuisine. So, because I think people find cooking for vegans very hard because it's like, man, just eat a piece of meat or something. So I actually went to the liberty of making you a vegan
oh,
vegan
really?
pasta.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Try to keep it a little festive.
Okay, let's see what you have. She brought something to the show. Wow, okay.
Everybody can share with everybody else. It's a put some here for you and you can try that.
Yeah, let me try. And you prepared this, right?
Yeah, of course.
All right. Look at this. And there's no meat inside it because I don't eat meat, right?
No, so it's actually just a pasta shell,
Uh-huh.
and it's stuffed with some sweet potatoes, some cauliflower, onion, and it's just covered in a tomato sauce with some fresh cherry tomatoes and some parsley. So
It's pretty good. And I definitely taste the sweet potato inside.
yeah, thank you. Thank you. I'm glad you're enjoying it. But yeah, it's not easy cooking for vegans.
No, it's not.
No, actually, it's a lot easier now because you get a lot of options. You get a lot of different, you can get vegan cheese. You can get vegan anything at this point. So it's a lot easier now. It's just about understanding textures, temperatures, flavors, and, it's a lot easier to whip stuff up. So, yeah, I hope you enjoyed that. And
Sorry. I had to wipe my mouth a little bit.
that's all right.
Oh, that was pretty good. That's all for me, right?
I said share it.
All
Share
right,
with
no
everybody.
problem.
Yeah.
I saw you on YouTube preparing in the kitchen this magnificent meals. Like you had like big trays full of food.
Yeah.
What was that all about?
So I recently started getting onto like online social media with my food because, again, like I said, cooking is a male-dominated industry. So for me, I've always been about my craft. I've always been like, I want people to taste the food and enjoy it. I don't want people to just look at me and be like, she's a pretty face. I'll just pretend to enjoy this food. I really want people to enjoy the food.
Right.
So my friends have always said this to me, like, you should post videos on YouTube. You need to, like, people need to see your personality and enjoy it and all
yourself.
that. Yeah, but more myself than my skill, and kind of make it work hand in hand. So I've been fighting it for the longest time, but now I'm just like, you know what, let's try something different. I'm going to put myself out there. So I put out a little video on YouTube, and it was basically just making a Southern African dish. It's a little dish that I kind of created on my own, and I just kind of whip something up and see how, how I feel talking in front of the camera, how people are going to respond to seeing me do stuff like that. And for the longest time, people have been asking me to do it. So, yeah, now I'm doing it. But, I've got something else cooking up right now. That platform actually was just catered for, Southern African food, which is something that I still want to push, but now and do something that really explores all the different cuisines that I'm actually, like, capable of, cooking, that I learned how to cook in. So definitely going to be posting a lot more. Going to get to see my face a lot more now. So, that's what that was about. It was just a little tester, get my feet in the water, see how that is. So,
nice.
Yeah.
About Southern African food. Have you heard of a food called fufu? I think that's one of the first dishes I've had from Africa. I don't know if it's Southern African or not. Is that Southern African?
I think fufu is more West African.
Was that West
African?
In
the South, we have something similar. I think they make it with pounded yam. We make something similar, of a similar texture, and we call it sadza.
Sadza.
Or isichwala, depending on
which. You got me saying names.
Depending on which part of the South you're from, or pop if you're from South Africa.
Okay.
So we make something similar, but fufu is more of like a West African thing. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
So as a chef, where have you worked? You worked more restaurants, bars, weddings, halls, cruise ships,
So my mother initially, when I told her I was going to be a chef, she was just kind of like, I don't know, like, are you sure? But one thing that my mother always told me was that if you're going to do something, you should always aim for the highest point you can do it.
Right.
So you want to be a chef, okay, you're going to have to go to school. Try to aim for the highest degree you can get, So I was really fortunate that when I started out as a chef, I was like, you know what, I'm only going to work in the top restaurants. I'm only going to work for, the top of the top. So I was really fortunate to, from culinary school, I was kind of put in contact with some really good restaurants. So I've worked in some really good restaurants in Sydney.
Shout them out.
I worked at, there's this company called Maryvale. It pretty much owns like half of the restaurants and bars and clubs in Sydney.
Wow.
So I work for a chef. His name is Chef Chris Richard. There's two chefs there. And I was just like, a baby Liv in the chef industry. Let me tell you, this guy, he took me under his wing, taught me everything I, kind of learned in culinary school, but as well, like, everything that I needed to know industry-wise. Like, he really put me on. I worked for him for about a year and a half, and then he was like, you know what? I need you to grow, and he put me onto another chef, and worked for a friend of his, and then worked for him for like 6 months. I was like, you know what? I need a break. I'm going to go off to Trinidad, have a good time. Came back from Trinidad. I called him up. I was like, I'm back. I need a job. He's like, don't worry, I got you. He put me onto his brother at the time, who worked at a really good restaurant called Monopole in like Darlinghurst, in a little town in Sydney. And a really good restaurant, like Hatted restaurant, which is kind of like the equivalent of like Michelin here. So, I've just been really fortunate that I've had chefs who've kind of really taught me a lot of things, but not just that, have been kind enough to say, you know what, I kind of taught you everything that I feel like you need to learn. I'm going to put you onto somebody else. And it's all been love. Like, I've just been really fortunate that it's all just been onto the next person, just referrals. And can't even remember the last time I updated my resume. It's just, I've been really blessed. I've been really blessed when it comes to that. So even business-wise, I also work as a private chef. So, clients just refer me to other clients. Shout out to everybody that's always, had me over at their house. I've always been cooking in people's houses, dinner parties, meal preps. I do everything now. So
wow.
I've just been really fortunate that the bulk of it has been word of mouth. People tell their friends, they tell their cousins, they tell everybody. So that's pretty much how my career has kind of evolved. So now when it comes to marketing myself, I gotta put myself out a little bit more, put myself out there a little bit more. So Yeah. So thanks to everybody who is constantly, encouraging me, helping me out. And yeah.
Oh, that's nice. That's
Yeah.
nice. Yeah, so, do chefs, do they make a lot of money? Is it a lucrative business? You know?
Yo, like anything in life, I always say you just gotta hustle hard. It depends
Mhm.
what you're trying to get at. If you're just trying to be a chef, make a living, I don't think that it's worth it because it's hard work. You gotta be really prepared to, do the hours, give up, Christmases, give up, because some restaurants open on Christmas Day. So you
Right.
gotta be really willing to take away from that family time, that personal life, those weekends. You really gotta be ready to give your entire
How do these
time to
guys
it.
like Ramsey? How do they get big? I mean, is it after a while?
I'd like to know.
Even the guy you said you were inspired growing up with, what's his name?
Bourdain, Anthony
Bourdain. These
Bourdain.
guys, how do they get to that level? I mean, is it really their cooking, or is it more of their name just always being out there all the time? Obviously, they can cook.
Yeah. I mean, the cooking helps.
Yeah.
But it's
to
a
get
lot
to,
to
that,
do.
to get in that position to tell people this is not good, that's not good.
Oh, you mean like to be head chef?
Kind of chef and all that stuff.
Oh, you got to work your way
Gotta work
up.
your way up.
Absolutely. Like
Okay.
I started off as so culinary school is something that will teach you basic skills. It'll
Okay.
teach you how to hold a knife. It'll teach you how to chop stuff up. It'll teach you the difference between, a zucchini and a cucumber. And it's just the foundation, But you need to be in the industry. And once you're in the industry, you got to start from the bottom. Like I thought that I would get out of culinary school and, just start off as, a head chef or a sous chef, which is like second to the head chef. But I got out of culinary school and they were like, you know what? You got to start from the bottom like everybody else. I was in there, washing dishes, washing pans. I would have like just me, the sink stacked up with dishes like that. So you got to really start from the bottom so that when you get to the top, you have an appreciation of what it takes to get there. So you work your way up. You start off as a kitchen hand maybe. Then then you move on to a line chef, sous chef, and then you become a head chef. So you got to really work your way up there. So, respect to those guys because that means they've done the whole, the hard yakas, as we say in Australia. They've done the hard time. They've really started from the bottom. And even if you listen to Gordon's story about how he started out as a chef, he had potatoes thrown at him. He had, it's not easy. So
Not
you
easy.
gotta work your way up. Yeah.
Nice. Real quick before we go, what advice would you give to someone who's trying to become a chef?
Don't do it. Stop. Go be a lawyer. I mean, honestly, my biggest advice is be passionate because it shows in your food. It shows when people eat your food. Like, you know what? This tastes really good. This person's really made an effort to make it taste good. Be passionate because I think as a chef, 99% of the time, what got me through was being passionate about my craft. There's been times when I just want to throw the towel in. I'm like, why am I doing this dirty job? Why? And it's because I love what I do. So be passionate about what you do. Understand you have to work hard. And if you are willing to work hard, if you're passionate, go ahead. Show the world what you can create. And, yeah.
Nice.
That's about it.
Yeah, I wish you all the best, especially as, representing for the women and everything,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And then a lot of women know that they can actually be chefs as well. It's not just
Yes.
a male
Yeah.
business. It's dominated by men, but,
I'm trying to change the world around. One Beyonce at a time.
Real quick before we go, let people know how they can get in contact with you, internet, social media,
Yeah,
Snapchat, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, telephone number, all that good stuff.
Telephone number. Honestly, like right now, I'm working on trying to get my social media up. So you could probably contact me at Chef Liv, Liv, Chef_Liv. Facebook, Olivia Herve. Twitter, I don't really use Twitter all that much, but I think it's like a 12-year-old Twitter that I did up. So we're not going to say that name.
So mostly
Instagram.
Instagram, okay.
Yeah, Instagram. I have a business page, Mnandi Kitchen, Mnandi_Kitchen. That's MNANINDI, because I know it doesn't sound like it's spelled. MnandiKitchen@gmail.com, but mostly Instagram, Facebook. Yeah, so that's
All right.
it.
All right. So it's been a pleasure to have you on the show
Thank
today,
you so much
Chef
for
Liv.
having me. Thank you so much. I really enjoyed it.
And I wish you all the best moving forward.
Thank you.
All right, that wraps up another episode of Face to Face. Yours truly, Nesta Can. Take care and God bless.